They say you can't smell betrayal coming. But if I could bottle up that night's aroma, the overpriced cologne of a smug stranger, Ashley's too loud laugh, and the faint whiff of lobster bisque gone cold, it'd be called Infidelity Number 5. Ashley had asked me to meet her for dinner. Candlelight, wine, the works. She said we needed to talk. When a spouse says that, you brace for something big, divorce, maybe, or worse, another dog. But I didn't expect her to turn our table for two into a stage for public humiliation. There he was when I arrived, Chase Donovan. Black shirt 2 sizes too tight, hair with more product than the salad dressing, and a smirk that made you want to check if your wallet was still in your pocket. Ashley introduced him with a sweet smile. This is Chase, from work. You've heard about him. He was the mentor, the inspiration, the guy who just gets her. I'd heard his name in our house more than mine lately. I sat down, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. My fists were already clenched under the table. Then Chase leaned in. You've got 2 options, Logan. Leave quietly, or face me like a man. Ashley didn't blink. She smiled, like this was a scene in a movie she had watched before. And in that moment, I realized I hadn't walked into dinner. I'd walked into an ambush. I'll leave the exact details out, but let's just say the wine wasn't the only thing spilled that night. Security got involved, plates were sacrificed, and Chase left with a rearranged understanding of dental coverage. Ashley? She said I embarrassed her. Of course she did. After all, I'd interrupted her big reveal. What kind of man shows up to his own breakup party and doesn't applaud? But here's the thing, that wasn't the beginning of the betrayal. That was the end of it. The bow on a package that had been wrapped in secrecy, tied with a ribbon of deceit, and delivered to me cold over dinner. That night, when I got home, the house felt off. Not the furniture, not the decor, just the energy. Her perfume lingered in the air, but so did something else. Something musky, unfamiliar. I checked our bedroom. The bed was made. 2 made. Ashley never tucked the sheets like that. And just like that, the curtain lifted. I wasn't in a marriage. I was in a story. One she had written without me. And it was time I started writing back. You can tell a lot about someone's secrets by their laundry. I'm not saying I'm some sort of fabric softener Sherlock Holmes, but that week, I noticed something strange. Ashley had started doing her own laundry separately. Detergent I didn't recognize. Clothes I'd never seen. There was a pair of jeans in the basket, tight, expensive, and definitely not bought during one of our usual Target runs. And a shirt that still had a faint cologne scent on it. Not mine. I didn't say anything. Yet, I just watched. That's the trick most people miss. They rush into confrontation. But if you give a liar enough rope, they'll build you a ladder to the truth. I played my part. Made coffee. Kissed her on the cheek in the morning. Acted like everything was normal while I built my quiet little case in the background. One evening, she came home late again, claiming traffic on a route that never had traffic unless the earth had cracked in half. She walked in humming, like nothing in the world had cracked except maybe her conscience. Long day? I asked, setting down a plate of pasta, her favorite. She mumbled through a yawn that was 2 parts fake, 1 part guilt. Back-to-back meetings. Chase too? I asked casually. She hesitated just a moment too long. No, he left early. That's when I knew. Chase was never supposed to leave early. He was her work husband, as she once joked before it stopped being a joke. After dinner, she went to shower. I went to her laptop. Now listen, normally, I wouldn't invade someone's privacy. But this wasn't privacy. This was espionage. And I was finally ready to spy for my own survival. Password? Her cat's name. Not very original, Ashley. What I found was a hidden folder. Labeled innocuously enough. Budgets. Click. Not budgets. Photos. Emails. Reservations. Ashley hadn't just been unfaithful. She'd been organized about it. There were screenshots of flirty messages. Pictures of her and Chase in cities I'd never been invited to. Dinner receipts from places she claimed were client meetings. It was a travelogue of betrayal, and it read like a slap. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I copied every file onto a flash drive. Then I did something truly radical. I made dessert. Creme brulee, she said, surprised. Felt like a sweet night, I replied, smiling. Inside, I was already planning something that wouldn't be sweet at all. I didn't sleep that night. While Ashley lay next to me breathing peacefully, like the lies hadn't built a nest in her chest, I stared at the ceiling, flash drive under my pillow like a secret weapon. I wasn't angry anymore. I was aware. And that's more dangerous. The next morning, she left early for a strategy meeting. I waited exactly 15 minutes, then called the hotel listed in one of her emails. I kept it simple. Hi, I'm confirming a couples massage for Ashley and Chase. Just want to make sure we're still on for today. The receptionist was polite, professional. Yes, we have them scheduled at noon. Spa Suite B. Perfect. I thanked her and hung up. That was it. The last piece. I didn't need a confession. I didn't want one. I had truth. And truth, when timed right, is sharper than any blade. So I got dressed, nothing dramatic. Jeans. Plain button-up. I drove downtown, stopped by the bakery Ashley liked, and picked up a box of macarons. I even tied it with a ribbon. Classy, right? Then I went to her office. The receptionist greeted me like always. Hey Logan, Ashley isn't in yet. Want me to tell her you stopped by? I smiled. Actually, could you leave this on her desk? Surprise treat. Of course. Inside the box, the flash drive. A note. Play this when you're alone. I did. Now, some men would have yelled. Some would have begged. But I wanted silence. I wanted her to open that pastel box of sweets and find her sugar-coated secrets staring back at her. And I wanted her to stew in it. No response from me. Just distance. I turned my phone off after that. Took a walk. Bought a book I wouldn't read. Watched people living normal lives while my own was cracking like cheap porcelain. That evening, I came home late. The house was quiet. Dark, except for one lamp in the living room. Ashley sat there, knees pulled up on the couch like a child waiting for judgment. She looked up, eyes red. You went through my stuff. I had to, I said simply. Her voice cracked. I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did. Repeatedly. With calendar invites. She stood up, desperate. Can't we fix this? I tilted my head. Why? So Chase and I can trade weekends. She flinched. Good. I never wanted it to go this far, she said quietly. Well, I said, grabbing my keys. It did. And now it's going to go a little further. She frowned. What does that mean? It means I've got some plans of my own now. And I left. Calm. Measured. Like a man who had just walked away from a burning building, not because he started the fire, just because he knew it was time to stop standing in the smoke. There's a difference between losing and walking away. One stings. The other strategizes. I didn't storm out of that house to lick wounds. I left to build blueprints. The first stop was my brother Grant's place. Grant was the kind of guy you call when your life explodes and you need someone to quietly hand you a beer while the pieces fall. No questions, just fridge access and a worn-out couch that always smelled faintly of pepperoni and defiance. When I walked in, he raised an eyebrow. Trouble? Just the end of a 10-year business merger, I said, tossing my keys onto his kitchen counter. He cracked open 2 beers and handed me one. Ashley. I nodded. Found the receipts. The whole breadcrumb trail. He didn't ask for details. That's what made him dangerous in the best way. So what now? He said, settling into his recliner. That's the thing, I said. She expects a fight. She expects me to lose it, scream, make a scene. And you're not going to give her that. Nope. He smirked. You're going to go full slow burn, aren't you? Worse. I'm going to make her regret underestimating the quiet guy. The plan wasn't revenge, not yet. It was recalibration. First, I got my own bank accounts. Quietly closed the joint ones. Froze credit cards. Rerouted direct deposits. Next came the house. We owned it, yes, but her name was only on the title because I had insisted early in the marriage. Romantic, I thought. Turns out, romantic is just code for legally vulnerable. But I wasn't stupid. I knew every inch of that house. What was hers, what was mine, and what she'd forgotten was technically borrowed. So I made a list. Ashley's car? Leased under my name. Her work laptop? Paid for with my bonus. The Peloton she never used but insisted we needed? Charged to my card. A lot of things she called hers were just rented with my patience. I spoke to a lawyer, quiet guy, kind eyes, wore vests unironically. He listened, nodded, and said, if you want to do this right, we go cold first. No confrontation. Just preparation. Perfect. Ashley, meanwhile, had started her redemption arc. Text messages. Long emails with apologies and explanations. We lost each other, she wrote once. It just happened. It just happened. Like she tripped and fell mouth first onto Chase. I didn't reply. Silence, as it turns out, is more punishing than any shouting match. She texted more frequently. Can we talk? Are you okay? Please come home. But I wasn't home. I was rebranding. I got a haircut. Clean. Sharp. I bought a few new outfits. Nothing flashy, just confidence in cotton. Even signed up for a gym Ashley used to mock. You're already fit, she'd said once. Why spend money sweating with strangers? Because, dear Ashley, sometimes strangers cheer you on better than your spouse. I took up boxing. There's something profoundly clarifying about hitting a bag that doesn't talk back. One night, while wrapping my hands, Grant asked, "So what's the end game here?" I shrugged. Not sure. I just want her to know what she threw away before she realizes she can't get it back. Ashley called me one night. I stared at the screen until it stopped buzzing. Then, she sent a photo. It was the two of us, years ago, laughing at some vineyard, her lipstick on my cheek. Caption: "We used to be happy." I stared at it longer than I should have. Then I archived it. Not deleted. Just filed. That's what our marriage was now. A file I wasn't ready to trash, but definitely didn't want open. Meanwhile, Chase started getting cocky. Sent me a message on LinkedIn, of all places. "Hope you're doing well, man," it read. "Sorry it worked out this way, but I guess we all find our match eventually." No punctuation. No class. I didn't reply, of course, but I took a screenshot. Someday, I figured I might need it. That weekend, I went back to the house. Not to reconcile. To collect. Ashley wasn't home. I let myself in with the spare key she didn't know I'd taken back. The place smelled like citrus and desperation. I went room by room, gathering everything that was mine. Photos. Documents. The good knives. I left a note on the fridge. "I won't fight you. I'm not interested in tug-of-war with someone who dropped the rope. Good luck with Chase. You'll need it." I walked out, locked the door, and tossed the key onto the welcome mat. The next morning, she emailed me. Subject: "I read your note." No body. Just those words. I didn't open it. Because I wasn't done. Not even close. Let me tell you something about regret. It doesn't show up when you expect it. It doesn't knock politely or send a warning text. It ambushes you at brunch, or in the middle of folding laundry, or in Ashley's case, while posing for a picture at a gala with the man she thought was her upgrade. See, while Ashley was polishing her new life with Chase like a trophy she won at the expense of her conscience, I was setting the table for something far more satisfying than reconciliation: poetic exposure. It started with a simple observation. Chase loved the spotlight. He was a peacock in a world of pigeons, always preening, always just back from a panel, or about to speak at a retreat. And Ashley? Well, Ashley adored admiration. Their relationship was built on compliments and curated Instagram captions. So I gave them a stage. It began with a charity event, an annual fundraiser Ashley and I used to attend together. She once told me it was her favorite night of the year. All the right people in one place, she'd said, and no room for the wrong ones. Funny, because this year, I planned to be the wrong one in exactly the right place. Now, I wasn't on the guest list anymore. Divorce rumors have a way of trimming your invitations. But remember Grant? Turns out he knew the woman organizing the event. One quick favor later, and I had a ticket and a plan. I got there early, dressed sharp but not flashy. The kind of look that says, I moved on and upgraded spiritually. I greeted a few old faces, smiled politely, and found a table near the front. Not center, not back, just the sweet spot where you're hard to ignore. Then I waited. At 7:13, the doors parted like a scene from a poorly written romantic drama. In walked Ashley and Chase. She wore red, the same shade she wore on our honeymoon cruise. Chase had on a tux that fit a little too snug across the chest, as if his ego needed breathing room. They laughed. She tossed her head back the way she used to when she wanted everyone to know she was in love, or at least trying to look like it. And then she saw me. It was subtle, a half-step falter, a flicker in the eyes. She turned away too quickly, whispering something to Chase that made him glance in my direction. He nodded, smirking, like he'd just spotted a stray dog outside a steakhouse. Game on. The host took the stage, welcomed everyone, then launched into introductions of the evening's major donors. I waited until the second course was served. That's when I slipped away from my table and approached the event coordinator. Hey, I said, casually. Did you get a chance to play the short video I emailed earlier? Just the 60-second highlight reel. Thought it might be a nice surprise for Ashley Donovan and Chase. They're featured prominently. She smiled, checking her clipboard. Oh yes, we slotted it in right before dessert. It'll play during the donor acknowledgments. Perfect. Now, to clarify, there was a video, but it wasn't exactly a highlight reel. It was something better. Ashley and Chase, caught in a candid moment at a hotel bar months ago. Footage I received anonymously, bless the janitor I tipped. Audio cleaned up by a buddy in sound design. The clip showed Ashley draped over Chase, whispering, "He still thinks we're working late tonight." Per Logan. That wasn't the punchline. The punchline came when Chase replied, laughing, "You're lucky he's too dull to ask questions." The screen went dark after that. No accusations. No context. Just two people, copying themselves when they thought no one was watching. As the dessert trays were rolled in and the lights dimmed, the video played on the main projector. A few chuckles at first. Then gasps. Then silence. Ashley's face drained of color. Chase looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. And me? I sipped my water. Cool. Collected. The picture of a man who had nothing left to prove. When the lights came back on, no one looked at them the same way. The applause that followed was hollow, awkward, and very much not for them. Ashley stood up, whispered something to Chase, and made a beeline for the exit. She passed by my table without a word. But her eyes? Her eyes were screaming. I stood slowly, followed her out, and caught up with her in the hallway. "Logan," she hissed. "You did this." I shrugged. "No, Ashley. You did. You had no right. I had every right. You gave it to me the moment you turned our marriage into a cover story." She blinked, stunned. "And for what it's worth," I added, "I didn't do it to humiliate you. I did it to clear my name." "You lied, Ashley. But not just to me. To everyone. Tonight? They just saw the uncut version." She shook her head, tears threatening, but I wasn't there for that scene anymore. "I hope he was worth it," I said simply. Then I walked away. Not victorious. Not vengeful. Just free. Chase Donovan never liked consequences. He liked accolades, soft lighting, and drinks named after his favorite adjectives: smooth, bold, rare. What he didn't like was scrutiny. And after the gala, scrutiny came knocking, wearing 1,000 tailored suits and carrying polite but lethal smiles. See, the gala wasn't just any event. It was backed by donors, sponsors, media, and a few sharp-eyed board members who watched that little highlight reel like it was a security leak. And in a way, it was. By Monday morning, Chase was in damage control mode. My phone buzzed just after 9 a.m. unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. "Logan, hey, it's Chase. Look, man, can we talk?" That video, it really made things complicated. I didn't mean for anything to come between you and Ashley. Call me, okay. Now, you might be wondering why Chase was calling me. Not Ashley. Not his buddies. Me. Because he knew. He knew the power had shifted. While I had nothing left to lose, Chase had a career built on image. The nonprofit he ran wasn't huge, but it was visible. And visibility is a fickle mistress when your public persona just got pantsed at a charity gala. I didn't call him back. Instead, I emailed a copy of the video to the gala's media team. Just in case. That evening, Grant and I sat at his kitchen island, watching as the local news played a clipped version of the video with pixelated faces and one glorious cheer-in. Charity scandal. Executive director caught on tape mocking donors. Spouse. Smooth, Grant said between sips of beer. I thought so. Ashley, meanwhile, had gone quiet. The text stopped. The emails, too. Probably realizing that anything she said could and would be forwarded, screenshot, or worse, published. That silence was a small mercy, honestly. I didn't need her explanations. I'd lived the prequel. I didn't need the commentary track. Now, back to Chase. He lost the board's confidence in 48 hours. Resigned voluntarily by Friday. His statement was classic PR fog. I regret that a private moment has overshadowed years of public service. Translation. I regret that I got caught on camera being exactly who I am. A week later, his LinkedIn profile went dark. A month later, a friend in HR told me his application landed on their desk, underqualified, overconfident, and attached to a resume with more holes than integrity. But here's the best part. Ashley tried to pivot. Oh, did she try? She started floating apologies in the local scene, blaming the stress of a complicated marriage and calling the video a moment taken out of context. She even sent a message to my mother, trying to revive some sympathetic narrative. "She's saying you were emotionally distant," my mom told me bluntly. "That you weren't supportive enough." I smiled. Well, that's probably true. I didn't support her cheating on me. That shut down that channel pretty fast. It wasn't about bitterness at that point. It was about dignity. Mine. She tried to break it in public. So I returned the favor with a level of subtlety she didn't expect. I posted a single statement on social media. It's amazing how clarity shows up once the noise dies down. To everyone who's reached out, I'm doing fine. Betrayal doesn't break you. It educates you. It went semi-viral. Shared, liked, and even quoted in a few motivational pages I didn't follow. Ashley never liked it, but she read it. I know because one of her friends accidentally left a comment under it. She doesn't deserve you anyway. I never deleted it. By now, Chase was a ghost on the local circuit. No more event invites. No new job listings. His circle tightened fast. People who once toasted him with $20 cocktails now ducked his eye in Whole Foods. And Ashley? She stayed in the house. My house. I didn't fight her for it. The place felt too full of old echoes and expensive memories. I'd moved into a downtown loft, smaller, quieter, mine. I left her with the mortgage and the silence. About a month later, I got an email from her. The subject line just read, "Closure." I didn't open it. Some people deserve a conversation. Others deserve the inbox they tried so hard to keep secrets in. And me? I wasn't just surviving. I was building. I'd started a blog, just short entries, about resilience, about rediscovery, about what happens when the worst thing doesn't destroy you, it sharpens you. One of them was titled The Dinner Table Trap. Another? The Gift of Being Left. They weren't about Ashley. Not directly. But people knew. I wasn't hiding. I was documenting. And wouldn't you know it, people resonated with that. Especially the ones who'd been blindsided, blamed, gaslit. I got emails from strangers who said, "Thank you. You said what I couldn't." Turns out, when you tell the truth with enough calm, it echoes louder than any revenge. But let me be clear, I hadn't gotten to revenge yet. No, this was just the groundwork. The real masterpiece? That was still coming. There's an art to watching someone unravel quietly. Not with screaming matches or fiery breakups, but through the slow erosion of the image they built for the crowd. Ashley always thought she was the lead in some grand drama. The elegant wife with just enough edge, the smart one who married the stable guy and later outgrew him. But when the crowd stops clapping, even stars feel cold under the lights. It began with a party. Not hers, ours. Well, formerly ours. An annual thing we used to host together. People dressed up, brought wine they couldn't pronounce, and gossiped under string lights while pretending they knew anything about imported cheese. This year, Ashley threw it solo. Word got around. It always does. She invited the same circle, plus a few new names, Chase's old contacts, ones who hadn't fully disowned him yet. She even sent me an invite. Digital. No personal message. Just a reminder of the date and the time. A screenshot of familiarity wrapped in forced civility. I didn't respond. But I showed up. Not out of spite. Out of strategy. I arrived late, wearing that navy suit she always claimed made me look too polished for real life. Funny how that suddenly became a good thing. As I walked into the backyard, I noticed the setup was identical to last year's. Same playlist. Same lanterns. Same faux humility wrapped in perfect lighting. But something was missing. Laughter. Not fake chuckles or nervous small talk. Real, gut-level, uninhibited laughter. Because when I hosted, I told stories. I asked about people's lives. I made them feel seen. Ashley smiled a lot, but only with her mouth. I spotted her by the fire pit, a wine glass in hand, wearing a dress that tried too hard to recreate a memory. She saw me, blinked, and for the first time in a long time, looked unsure. "Logan," she said as I approached. "You came. Had the night free?" I replied, nodding at her guests. "Nice turnout." She gave a small, tight smile. "Yeah, it's been different this year." I glanced around. "Where's Chase?" The mask flickered. Just a blink of truth. "He's not in the picture anymore." "Ah, too many candid shots, maybe." She didn't laugh. Just stared at her drink like it might answer for her. A man I didn't recognize approached. Tall. Trying too hard with the slicked hair and fake tan. "Ashley, they're out of wine in the kitchen. Where's the backup?" Ashley looked confused. "I thought I brought check the garage." He wandered off, and I leaned in. "Friend of yours?" "Neighbor," she muttered. "Sort of." I nodded, then turned to leave. She caught my arm. "Logan, wait." I paused. Her grip was soft, hesitant. I thought about writing you. About everything." "You did," I said flatly. Subject line was closure. Never opened it. "Why not?" "Because I didn't need it," I said. Closure is what people ask for when they want to feel forgiven without earning it. She let go of my arm. I took a slow look around. You threw our party. But it's not ours anymore. It's not yours either. It's something else now. It's mine, she said, chin lifting slightly. Then own it, I said, walking away. And stop borrowing the past. I left before dessert. Before the part where she'd usually cue a sentimental toast and force the crowd to nod along like it meant something. But the next morning, I heard from a mutual friend who stayed late. Ashley got drunk, he said. Tried to give a speech, but it just turned into her crying about how she lost everything. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need them. The house, the parties, the friends who were only ever mine on the weekends, none of that was revenge. It was just gravity catching up. Now, if you're thinking this is where I slow down, where I find peace and plant daisies or something, don't. Because I still had one card left. See, during the fallout, I've been collecting things. Not revenge porn, not blackmail, nothing like that. Just truths. Screenshots. Emails. Timelines. Not to weaponize, but to finalize. I sent a package to Ashley's employer. Not anonymously. Not vindicatively. Just a folder labeled Conflict of Interest, Transparency Materials. Inside were overlapping business expenses. Work trips that aligned a little too perfectly with company funds. Personal travel listed under professional development. Receipts signed by Ashley, Chase listed as the guest. I didn't send it because I wanted her fired. I sent it because she'd built a life on bending lines, and it was time she got reacquainted with straight ones. 2 weeks later, she was put on probation. Not fired. Just enough to notice. Enough for whispers to start in the break room. Enough to get passed over for promotions with vague feedback like, not the right fit for leadership. It wasn't cruel. It was surgical. Ashley wasn't destroyed. She was just returned to earth. And me? I had already launched. I was working with a startup, leading a team of bright minds who didn't know or care about my past. I dated casually, laughed more, slept better. Not because I won, but because I stopped pretending the fire didn't burn and chose to build something new from the ashes. Ashley used to say, "You're too calm. You never react." She was right. Because I never react. I respond. 6 months. That's how long it had been since the gala. Since the video. Since the last text from Ashley. I thought the story had ended. Thought the storm had passed. But life doesn't hand you clean credits and fade to black. It gives you doorbells at 6:45 on a Sunday night. I opened the door and found Ashley standing there. Not crying. Not angry. Just empty. She looked like someone who'd gone walking in the rain and forgot why she stepped outside. Hi, she said. No lipstick. No smugness. Just silence clinging to her like a second skin. Hi, I said. Didn't move. I won't stay long, she promised, glancing at the ground like it owed her an explanation. I just wanted to say it, face to face. What I did, it was cruel. I nodded. I blamed you, she went on, voice soft, hand shaking. For being boring. For not chasing me. But you weren't boring, Logan. You were constant. And I mistook steadiness for weakness. You didn't mistake it, I said evenly. You just didn't value it. She nodded slowly, then pulled something from her bag. An envelope. This is my half of the mortgage. The last 6 months. I know I stayed longer than I should have. I didn't take it. Just stepped back so she could set it down on the table inside the door. She hesitated before leaving. I heard about your blog, she said. You're helping people. I'm telling the truth, I replied. She smiled faintly. That's helping more than you know. Then she left. No hug. No, maybe someday. Just the click of heels down the front steps and the soft shut of a door that didn't need to open again. There's a strange peace that comes after a storm. Not joy. Not celebration. Just a clean quiet where noise used to live. I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Ashley. Not at Chase. Not even at myself. I'd taken the hits. Absorbed the blow. Rebuilt the walls. Now I was living in a place they couldn't reach. My blog took off. More than I expected. People wrote in daily, men, women, all shapes of heartbreak, thanking me for saying what they couldn't. And then came the book deal. One editor. One conversation. One sample chapter sent by a reader. 3 months later, I was writing a memoir. The Quiet Exit. How I left without breaking. Not a revenge story. Not a sob story. A survival story. One chapter, one scar, one strategy at a time. By the time the manuscript was finished, I had started traveling more. Speaking events. Panels. Irony, right? The man once called emotionally dull now spoke on emotional resilience. I didn't mention Ashley's name. Not once. But she was there in the pages. Not as a villain. Just as proof that not everyone who loves you plans to stay. And that's okay. The real win didn't come in a courtroom, or a dramatic final confrontation, or some viral gotcha moment. It came one Tuesday. I was at a coffee shop, editing the last chapter of the audiobook when a woman sat across from me without asking. "I'm sorry," she said. "Are you Logan?" I looked up. She was in her 30s. Nervous hands, bright eyes. "Yeah," I said, cautious. "You wrote that book, right? About getting through betrayal?" I nodded. "My sister gave it to me," she said. "I'm leaving someone. Someone who doesn't hit me, but hurts me just the same. Your story, it gave me permission to leave without making it a soap opera." I closed my laptop, looked her in the eyes. Then that's the win. Not Ashley getting exposed. Not Chase losing his job. But someone, somewhere, getting free faster because I didn't hide my pain. We talked for 15 minutes. She left smiling. Not big, but real. And me? I sat there in the hum of espresso machines and second chances, feeling lighter than I had in years. Sometimes revenge is a flame. Sometimes it's just a clean breath.